सौन्दर्यलहरी कर्त्रे सर्वमङ्गलदायिने शङ्कराचार्यवर्याय यतिराजाय ते नमः. सौन्दर्यलहरी श्लोका 56. तवापर्णे कर्णे जपनयन पैशुन्यचकिताः निलीयन्ते तोये नियतमनिमेषाः शफरिकाः इयञ्च श्रीर्बद्धच्छदपुटकवाटं कुवलयं जहाति प्रत्यूषे निशि च विघटय्य प्रविशति. In this shloka, pada vibhaga is to be done in the first word, tava aparne. Then second line, third word, niyatam animeshaha. Then third line, the third word, srihi baddhachada putakavatam. Srihi baddhachada putakavatam. Now we'll see the anvaya. हे अपर्णे तव कर्णे जपनयन पैशुन्यचकिताः शफरिकाः अनिमेषाः तोये निलीयन्ते नियतम् इयञ्च श्रीः बद्धच्छदपुटकवाटं कुवलयं प्रत्यूषे जहाति निशि च विघटय्य प्रविशति. Here Bhagavad Pada says Devi's eyes actually cannot be compared to anything. It is that beautiful, and yet here he tries to compare them with the eyes of glittering female fish and that of the blue lily, and he gives a reason. He Aparne. Parnam means leaf, and during her penance which she performed with the object of marrying Shiva, Devi fasted for a long time, even without eating a leaf. So she came to be known as Aparna. Such a Devi, O Aparna. So as Sambodhana, it is Aparne. Hey Aparne, Tava, your Karne Japanayana Paishunya Chakitaha. Karne Jape means repeatedly telling tales about others or complaining about them close to the ears of another person. Karna Samipam Sadagate Nayane. The eyes which are as though constantly residing near the ears. Paishunyam. Pishunasya bhavaha paishunyam. That is slandering or tale bearing. Chakitaha, because of that, staying still in awestruck. Shapharikaha are the small glistening female fish. Animeshas toye, with open eyes in the water. Animeshaha means opened eyes. Toye is water. Niliyante, they are hiding, not visible easily. Niyata, certainly, for sure. Iyancha, and this Shrihi, Lakshmi, Baddhachadaputaka Baddham means held or tied. Chadaputaha means, Putaha means petals over here. Chadaputaha, closed petals. And Kavatam means the junction of the door, as though the doors of the house are locked by Lakshmi. Kuvalayam, blue lily. Pratyoshe, at dawn. Jahati, she leaves the blue lily. That is, the closed petals of the lily at dawn is visualized as locking the doors of the house to go somewhere. Nishicha, and at night, tat vighataya, opening that door. That is, here the blossoming of the blue lily at night is said to be the opening of the door. Pravishati, she, Lakshmi, enters. Now we will look at the meaning of some words. This word Aparna is spoken of in another way by scholars. Apa plus Rina. apagatam rinam yasyaha sa aparna. In this, the meaning of rina is taken as lethargy or not doing the karya or activity of srishti sthiti laya. So apagatam rinam yasyaha sa will get the meaning. This kind of lethargy is absent in whom, that she is Aparna. So Devi gets this name Aparne. And then another meaning is by bestowing on her devotees whatever they desire, Devi is said to have no rina at all. Then a look at the word Karne Japa. Karne Japa, it was mentioned, it means constantly complaining about another person in the ear. So when someone backbites repeatedly close to the ears, it makes an impact on the listener who is likely to react adversely. So we say Karne Japati iti Karne Japa. This kind of behavior we do see commonly in the world around us. This behavior is imagined in the blue lily, wherein the beauty seems to leave the flower during the day and return at night. The beauty is personified as Lakshmi. And then it is said the reason for the blue lily blossoming at night and closing during the day is imagined like this. Beauty in the form of Lakshmi is said to leave the flower during the day, and that is why this blue lily is said to be closed during the day, and then she wanders here and there, and then the petals are open at night because Lakshmi returns to the flower. Why does she return to the flower? Because it is said that conventionally it is not appropriate for a woman to stay outside her house at night. So here the beauty Lakshmi is said to return at night by slowly opening the doors, and the petals also begin to blossom slowly at night of the blue lily. Now the reason for why does she leave is the eyes of Devi is said to be drawn towards the ears. It's said to be wide. Netre karnanta vishrante. The reason that it is very wide and seems to touch the ear is it seems these two eyes are going to her ears and telling Devi, the two eyes, beautiful lustre is actually the one which is giving beauty to the worldly lotus. Yet this blue lotus seems to be coming to compete with our beauty, and you must punish her. Imagining this telltale, this beauty called Lakshmi in blue lily is said to leave the flower out of fear at daybreak and then return during the night. This is called Kavi Kalpana. Then the fish. It is known that fish are animeshaha. They don't close their eyes. The kind of fish mentioned in this verse are shaparikaha. That is small glistening female fish. These small fish naturally are said to show fear. Why are they afraid? A reason for this is given. Again, it is because the eyes of Devi are said to have gone up to the ears and tell Devi, these small fish have come to compete with us because we are very beautiful. But since they have come to compete with us, they must be our enemies. The fish are imagining that this is what Devi's eyes are telling her ears, and that's why they are drawn and they are wide and long. So the small fish, knowing this, are said to have become afraid that Devi might punish them. Therefore, they are said to have receded to the bottom of the river waters. Another reason is these fish are afraid, and because of that fear, they are not closing their eyes. Around us in life, we see that those in fear keep their eyes open for some time. In this way, Kavi Kalpana in this shloka is very beautiful for why Devi's eyes have no comparison in the world. Harihi Om. Saundarya Lahari, Shloka 57. Drisha Draghiyasya Daradalita Neelotpalarucha Daviyamsam Deenam Snapaya Kripaya Mamapi Shive Anenayam Dhanyo Bhavati Nachate Haniriyata Vaneva Harmyeva Samakaranipato Himakaraha. In this shloka, look at the second line towards the end. Mam api. And then third line, first word, anena ayam. Last word in the third line, hanihi iyata. Now we will look at the anvaya. He Shive, draghi yasya daradalita neelotpalarucha drisha daviyamsam deenam mamapi kripaya snapaya anena ayam dhanyaha bhavati iyata te hanihi na cha himakaraha vaneva harmyeva samakaranipaataha. Here Devi is addressed as He Shive, means He Mangalaswarupe, O auspicious one, Draghi Yasya, that which is very long and wide. What is very long and wide? Daradalita Neelotpala Rucha. Daradalitam means Ishat Vikasitam, slightly blossomed, is Neelotpalam, the blue lily. Rucha, with its attractive luster or shine. Drisha, that kind of look. Daviyamsam, one who is far away, and not only that, Deenam, very miserable and helpless. Mamapi, that me also. Kripaya, with compassion. Snapaya, drown me or bathe me in your compassion. Anena, by doing this, I am this person, dhanyaha bhavati, will be blessed. Iyata, by doing this, te, for you, hanihi nacha, there will be no loss or any trouble. Because in the world we see that himakaraha, Chandra, the moon, vaneva, whether in a forest or harmyeva, or on a palace or mansion, samakaranipato, the moon's rays of light are spread equally, isn't it? One who has a clean heart will be of this nature, isn't it? From verse 47 till this verse 57, Bhagavad Pada has been describing Devi's eyes, Netra Drishti. No other part of Devi's body or Sharira has been described in so many verses. Perhaps Bhagavad Pada only thought of Devi's Drishti as being most significant, and her looks are very powerful. That's the reason he has chosen to describe Devi's eyes in 11 verses. Her glances are so powerful that they denote time. The three eyes are said to be Surya, Chandra, and Agni. Bhagavati created them so that she can educate us about her Swarupa, that Bhagavati is Kala Teta, one who transcends time. Also, her glances in 8 different forms, each giving an appropriate phala, has been described. She is said to satisfy everyone's desire, and she is said to listen to the creative compositions or treatises which express beautifully the 9 sentiments. And these 9 sentiments were compared to Devi's drishti or different glances. Devi herself has been said to be composed, and yet her glance is said to be capable of making Lord Shiva give up his composure. Then her glances were said to be the cause for Srishti Sthiti Samhara Karyas. Devi directs the look of her red, white, and black hues in the eyes on yogis, bathing them in the confluence of the three sacred rivers, which bestows the status of mukti on the yogis. Then, keeping her eyes open eternally, she is said to be protecting her devotees with her compassionate glances. Such is the greatness of Devi's eyes that there is no comparison in the worldly objects for her looks. This significant, compassionate eyes of Devi is said to be beautiful and wide. So, may this eye of Devi extend its glance on me also, Mamapi, and make me pure, is Bhagavad Pada's prayer in this verse 57. Every word used in this shloka has a very profound meaning. It is common for anyone in Devi's presence to receive a glance from her. Then, why is Bhagavad Pada specially praying for her glance to be directed on him? Perhaps Devi too thought like this. Maybe the same question arose in Devi's mind. That's why Bhagavad Pada says, Daviyam Sam, which means I who am so far away from you. Not only that, I am distressed, helpless, and poor. Deenam Mam. I have been subjected to slander and censure from so many people for such a long time. So please direct your compassionate glance on me also and bathe me with your grace. Mam Kripaya Snapaya. In this way, Bhagavad Pada is praying to Devi with extensive humility. Then look at the word Dragiyasya. Devi, you cannot say that I am very far away from you. That is far away from your sight, because your eyes are so wide and far reaching. So therefore your glance also will be able to spot me. All I am asking for is look at me once with that eyes of yours. With this beautiful devotional prayer, seeking Divine Mother's infinite grace to be bestowed on all of us who are her children, Bhagavad Pada is concluding his description on Devi's Drishti. Hari Om. Saundarya Lahari, Shloka 58. Aralam te pali yugalam agarajanya tanaye na kesham adhate kusuma shara kodanda kutukam. Tiraschino yatra shravanapatamullangya vilasan apanga vyasango dishati sharasandhana dhishanam. Padavibhaga is there in the third word of the first line. Pali yugalam agarajanya tanaye. Then look at the second line. Kesham adhate. In the third line, the third word. Shravanapatham ullanghya. Now we will look at the Anvaya. He agarajanya tanaye te pali yugalam aralam kusuma sharakodanda kutukam kesham na adhate yatra tiraschinaha vilasan shravanapatham ullanghya sharasandhana dhishanam apanga vyasangaha dishati. Or you can say Apangavyasangaha Shravanapatham Ullanghya Sharasandhana Dhishanam Dishati. I'll just repeat the Anvaya. He Agarajanya Tanaye Te Pali Yugalam Aralam Kusuma Sharakodanda Kutukam Kesham Na Adhate Yatra Tiraschinaha Vilasan Apangavyasangaha Shravanapatham Ullanghya Sharasandhana Dhishanam Dishati. Here Devi is addressed as Agarajanya Tanaye. Agaha means na gachati iti agaha, which is parvata or the mountains, that which is stationary and does not move. Rajanya means king. Aganam Raja, king of the mountains, which is Himalaya. and here it means Himavan. Tanaya means daughter, so O daughter of Himavan. Te, your Pali Yugalam, pair of 2 ears. Aralam, they are crooked or they have that curved portion. Kusuma Shara Kodanda Kutukam. Kusuma Shara, arrows made of flowers, means Manmatha. Kodanda is the bow. Kutuka means that kind of enthusiasm, joyous feeling. Kutuhalam, a certain curiosity which comes with joy. Imagination could be, could your ear be Manmatha's bow, is the imagination. Kesham, in whom only this kind of curiosity, na adate, is not created. When I look at your ears, Devi, it appears like Manmatha's arrow because it is curved. Yat, why? Yatra, wherein, that is in those 2 ears, Tiraschinaha, the crooked curves in the ears, Vilasan, visible as something beautiful shining, Apanga Vyasangaha, the stretched, lengthy appearance of Devi's side glances, Shravanapatham, the path of the ears, Ullangya, crossing over. The eyes seem to be going past the ear also. That extended it is. Sharasandhana Dhishanam, appearing as though an arrow is going past the ear ready to be released. Dishati, such a feeling is created. Pali Yugala, in this word, Yugalam means pair and Pali is a portion of the ear. When one looks at the top portion of the ear, it will appear a little crooked. When a bow is holding an arrow ready to be shot, it will also appear slightly crooked. Perhaps that's why it is imagined that the ears are the arrow. Some say Pali also means the space between the ears and the eye. But taking the meaning of ear for the word Pali gives more sense to the verse. Because it is said to be appearing like a bow, naturally it implies the meaning of Manmatha. Another reason is it is known that Manmatha holds and carries a feeling of anger towards Lord Shiva. So he is said to be waiting for every chance to shoot his arrow at Shiva and bring him under his control. Therefore, the visualization is the ear is the bow of Manmatha. Then which is the arrow? It is Devi's side glance, which is so long and appears to extend beyond the ears, giving the appearance of an arrow being shot or arrow ready to be shot. In this way, Sri Shankara Bhagavatpada has described Devi's ear as Manmatha's bow in this verse. Harihi Om. Saundarya Lahari, Shloka 59. स्फुरद्गण्डाभोगप्रतिफलितताटङ्कयुगलं चतुश्चक्रं मन्ये तव मुखमिदं मन्मथरथं यमारुह्य द्रुह्यत्यवनिरथमर्केन्दुचरणं महावीरो मारः प्रमथपतये सज्जितवते. Padavibhaga here is in the 4th word, 2nd line, mukham idam. Then 3rd line, yam aruhya druhyati avani ratham arkendu charanam. Now we'll look at the Anvaya. Tava mukhamidam sphuradganda bhoga pratiphalita tatanka yugalam chatushchakram manmatha ratham manye yam aruhya maraha mahaviraha avani-ratham arkendu charanam sajjitavate pramathapataye druhyati. In this verse, Bhagavatpada is describing Bhagavati's earrings. Hey Bhagavati, O Devi, Tava, your, Idam Mukham, this face which I see in the seat of my heart, Spuradganda Bhoga Pratiphalita Tatanka Yugalam. Spurantau, the shining pair of Ganda Bhogav on the cheek, that is the whole side of the face including the temple. Pratiphalita is reflecting Tatanka Yugalam, the pair of large earrings worn by you. And how does it appear? Chatushchakram, as though it is the four wheels of Manmatha Ratham, chariot of Manmatha. Manye, I think so. Yam Aruhya, climbing onto that which Maraha means Manmathaha, Mahavira's son, feeling so great and superior because he is riding a four-wheeled chariot, which is a symbol of great power and position to Manmatha. But Avaniratham Arkendu Charanam. Avaniratham is Bhumi Ratham, a chariot placed on the earth with Arkendu, Arka, Suryaha, and Induhu means Chandraha as the Charanam means Chakram or two wheels of. Sajjitavate, ready to fight. Pramathapataye, that is Tripurantakaya, Lord Shiva, who is the Lord of Pramatha Ganas. So, here Shiva is addressed as Pramathapataye. Druhyati, as though ready to oppose or hate. The idea is, in this, Devi's face is imagined to be a chariot which has four wheels. How are four wheels seen? The large round pair of earrings are the two wheels. Their reflection is seen on the cheek. Why? Because Devi's face has very clear cheeks. So, another two wheels seem to appear on her face. So, therefore, while looking at her face from a distance, it appears like it is a chariot with four wheels. So, one would wonder, is this Devi's face or Manmatha's chariot with four wheels? Iti. Why? Because Manmatha is known to reside in Bhagavati's face. So, it seems he feels, I am the most brave and strong because Bhagavati's face is my abode. Like this, he is said to feel superior. So, when Lord Shiva, who is seated on a chariot placed on the earth, not only that, his chariot has only two wheels, with Surya and Chandra. When Shiva has come in front of Manmatha, it appears to him as though this Manmatha is an enemy who has arrived with the intention of waging a war. It is known that always Manmatha is defeated only by Lord Shiva. So now it appears like Manmatha is very confident of winning over Lord Shiva because he has a place superior to that of Lord Shiva, which is Devi's face. Not only that, Manmatha is described as being on a four-wheeled chariot. But Shiva is seated only on a two-wheeled chariot, and that too down below on the earth. So, Devi's face appears like that superior Manmatha, all set and ready to fight a war and win this war against Lord Shiva. It is by remaining on a two-wheeled chariot on earth that Lord Shiva defeated even Tripurasura. But then now it looks like great Lord Shiva appears to concede defeat on looking at Devi's beautiful face. It is natural for one on a four-wheeled chariot to win over one who is seated on a two-wheeled chariot. So in this shloka, victory is imagined to be on Manmatha's side. Harihi Om. Saundarya Lahari Shloka 60. Saraswatya Suktihi Amritalahari Kaushalaharihi Pibantyaha Sharvani Shravanachulukabhyam Aviralam Chamatkara Shlagha Chalita Shirasaha Kundalagano Jhanatkaraistarehi Prativachanamachashta Ivate. Padavibhaga is there in the last word in the second line. Shravanachulukabhyam Aviralam. Then first word last line. Jhanatkaraihi Taraihi. Next word Prativachanam Achashta. Now we will look at the Anvaya. He Sharvani Saraswatyaha te अमृतलहरी कौशलहरी सूक्तिः श्रवणचुलुकाभ्याम् अविरलं पिबन्त्याः ते कुण्डलगणः चमत्कारश्लाघाचलितशिरसः तारैः झणत्कारैः प्रतिवचनम् आचष्ट इव. In this verse, Devi is addressed as Sharvani. It's a very significant word. Sharvaha is Parameshwara, and so Sharvani will be Parameshwara's Patni. Now when you look at the Vyutpatti, derivation of the word, Sharvasya Anaha is Sharvanihi. Anaha means Pranaha. It is derived from the dhatu or verb root Anapranane. So Sharvani will mean actually one who is the life of Sharva. So He Sharvani, O the life of Parameshwara. Saraswatyaha. Saraswati is the goddess of learning, governing goddess of any learning. Te, your Amritalahari Kaushalaharihi. Amritalahariyaha, the expanse of waves of nectar. Kaushalahari, and the relish from tasting that nectar, continuing to stay in the mind. That is, the sweetness far excels the taste of nectar. Such suktihi, sweet words. Shravana chulukabhyam. Chulukaha is a hand hollowed to hold the water. Shravana is ear. So the ear is compared to a small vessel similar to a handful. Aviralam, continuously, non-stop. Pibantyaha, drinking or enjoying. In this context, te kundalaganaha, the earrings. Chamatkara shlagha chalita shirasaha. Chamatkaraha is struck with awe at the excellence of something. Shlagha, praising that excellence. That is the intelligent, sweet words uttered by Saraswati, which will move any mind, makes the listener awestruck. And as a result, it is expressed as Chalita Shirasaha. Listening to such wonderful words, Bhagavati is said to have moved her head, expressing the approval of excellence. It is common for us to nod our head when we listen to very good music or some good talk as a gesture of appreciation. Then, Taraihi, loudly, Jhanatkaraihi, the tingle or dangling sound, that is Jhana Jhana, as though saying Om, Prativachanam, echoing Achashta is the sound of the earrings. It appears so. In this shloka, Sri Bhagavatpada is describing Bhagavati's earrings in a different way. Now, one has to visualize Goddess Saraswati is in the presence of Bhagavati, saying some meaningful sweet words very melodiously. And Bhagavati is listening to those sweet words attentively with respect. This is expressed in the verse as one would drink water holding it in the hollow of the palm. Similarly, here the ear is the small vessel, sweet words are the water, and it is said Bhagavati drinks with her ear such sweet words uttered by Saraswati. Shravana chulukabhyam pibantyaha. Bhagavati enjoying listening to Saraswati's talk. And then, how are the words spoken? Amrita lahari, kausha lahari. The sweetness of the words spoken seem to surpass the taste of nectar. In other words, nectar is rendered tasteless in comparison to the sweet words spoken by Saraswati. Just like we say, she stole the show. Like that here, Saraswati's words stole the taste of nectar. Listening to this gave so much joy to Bhagavati, and as though expressing that joy and praising, Bhagavati is said to nod her head. Then her earring also shook and gave a loud sound, Taraihi, as though telling, wow, wow, how sweet are the words. As Prativachanam, words of approval, Om is also said by scholars. Om is expressed as a symbol of acceptance colloquially. In this context, it is as though the earrings said Om in approval. Actually, in ancient days, it was in practice to say Om as a sound of approving some action, the equivalent of what we say now, okay. This subject matter pertaining to the expression of Om is mentioned in Chandogya Upanishad as Tadva etad anuksharam yadhi kincha anujanati Om ityeva tadahesha eva samriddhihi yat anugnya samardhaita havai kamanam bhavati yas tadevam vidwan aksharam udgitham upaste. This Omkara has the character of samriddhi, auspiciousness. Although it is used in the sense of approval, just listening to the sound Omkara will bring about auspiciousness. So here, the movement of Bhagavati's earring seems to give the sound of approval and also echo Omkara, implying auspiciousness. Then the verse says Bhagavati drank with her ears. If she had drank nectar with her tongue, then through oral words itself she could have expressed the approval of the excellence. But then in this context, because the ears are said to drink, the tongue seems to have taken to silence. Ears cannot talk, and that's the reason it is said that the earrings through their movement spoke the words Om, Om, which denotes auspiciousness. The phala or benefit obtained by those who do Udgita Upasana or Omkara Upasana is they gain Saraswati Anugraha. In other words, Jnana Praptihi. Harihi Om.